for me this year as it pertains to leading this work is that what I look and see in Gen Z are people who are master organizers, right? I talk to young people a lot about what organizing is and what it means and and how you can influence a movement. Gen Z is so incredibly powerful as it pertains to organizing. They have so much to say. So even to the first part of your question, I think it's actually the opposite. There wasn't a lack of interest. There's an increase in interest of how young people speak out and how they want to be heard and how they want to engage older generations. It's just us taking that energy, right, and funneling it in the right direction. I know, as we all know, that millennials there in the past couple of years, there's been an uptick in millennials living in the city of Philadelphia, and we are the largest growing voting bloc in the city, right? So transferring that energy down to the generation right below us is only natural. And so what we find when we're dealing with Gen Z and these young people who are internet natives, right? They grew up with these these phones in their hands and social media, and I see them all the time. They're talking about these issues. They're talking about gun violence. They're talking about their schools. They're talking about opportunities for jobs. But how do we take that and translate for them that you have to participate in the voting effort? You have to show up for life. You have to talk to your elected officials. You have the power to influence policy, right? So if you don't know until you know. So that's what we're here to do, right? We're harnessing all that good that they have when they tweet. They have their tweet storms and they're talking to their friends in their circles about what's going on and saying, hey, this is how you get it done. So we're just being a vehicle for that. And I just think 2020 is such an amazing year to be able to really, really have these conversations and really have young people feel like they can make a difference in the city.
Yeah, it is like a code that has to be cracked, right? Trying to figure out a way to make this process, to make these elections relevant to young people, whether they be millennials or Gen Z. Gen Z voted for the first time in 2020. And so I mean, how do we go about that in terms of, or what's your experience been in kind of tackling key issues that are of like personal importance to them and having that conversation translated into, not just, workshops and voter registration drives, which all that's important, but actually turning out and actually inserting themselves in that direct voting process?
That's right. I think the first thing you have to do is explain to them and help them understand that being a voter is a verb, right? It's not something you do once and it goes away. It is a lifestyle, right? And we often talk about a ladder of engagement. And I think that in my philosophy, voting is just like the first step into the ladder of engagement as it pertains to civic participation. Because when you vote, you have a mindset that my voice matters, right? So then you may be more likely to show up at a community meeting. You may be more likely to show up at a PDAC meeting. You may be more likely to look for opportunities within the city, like the Philadelphia Youth Commission, to influence policy, right? So my goal as we are in the high school talking to these 9th through 12th graders, because obviously 9th, 10th, and 11th graders aren't eligible to vote yet. The voting is more targeted toward their senior peers, right? But it's explaining to 9th graders through 11th graders that there are opportunities for you to serve right now, right? I think that's some of the issue that we run into with young people. When we were all young once, you feel like you're screaming into the ether, right? Like nobody's listening. That's absolutely not the case. There's all kinds of youth-driven organizations that I work with all the time, and especially the Philadelphia Youth Commission, where if you have something to say and you feel strongly about it, work alongside your peers, devise a plan, and let's get it done. So I really don't, I'm super optimistic about next year because I really do think this isn't the generation where we have to worry about getting them motivated. It's just targeting their motivation. And I always say, I don't care who you vote for. I need you to just show up for life. I need you to not feel discouraged, because what we also do find, I think that's the biggest thing that we're all are going to tackle as we continue to engage millennials and Gen Z, is that there's younger generations that feel they're apathetic about our institutions, right? And you're apathetic about the institution because you don't understand how it works and how it's supposed to work, So if we're doing our job, truly informing and educating young people about what is democracy? What is this thing that we're living in? It's an experiment. And how do you play a role in that experiment and how you can really get something done? I always tell young people when they complain about government, even people my age and older, when you complain about government, government is you. I'm the same person as you. I just decided to take this route, and I'm sitting in City Hall. But we all could be there. We're just a reflection of what's going on outside in our community. So I think, like I said, I'm super optimistic about Gen Z and their ability to really make a wave next year, and I hope that First Vote can be supportive in that effort.
With First Vote 2020, what's sort of the key metric for success? I mean, are you going to be looking at youth voter turnout numbers very hard in 2020, particularly in Philly? Because Philly has that problem with voter turnout. Wasn't a whole lot of voter turnout in this past general election, or neither in the major primaries in May. And so are we going to be looking very closely at, or some of your partners like the Philadelphia Commissioner's Office going to look very closely at youth voter turnout?
That's right, absolutely right. And I think you brought up a really important point earlier in our conversation about it can't just stop there, right? So my goal is, as I'm engaging these young folks, is to not only track and have conversations with them about their first vote this election, but then what did you do afterwards? Did that inspire you to go to a council meeting? Did that inspire you to go testify? Did it inspire you to go to a PDAC meeting or join a friends group? I want to see how civic participation becomes a part of their natural everyday life. We have to make it, we have to re-normalize it for them, because right now they look around at the state of the country and they're like, what is going on, right? And what does it have to do with me? And sometimes I feel like when I throw my hands up, but they have to realize that they are a part of it, right? And you can't fix an issue unless you work within it. So we're definitely not only going to be tracking to see if they voted and how that experience was for them, but what else did it have you inspire you to do? So everything that we do in my office is about a call to action. We do not sit around. We're not here for cute little one-time things. We're here to create behaviors for young people to develop leaders. So it's a lot of work.
Well, I'm real curious too, Jeanette, because we were talking about, okay, so you're looking at or you're focused on 9th through 12th graders, and some of those folks, particularly freshmen and sophomore in high school, really, I mean, and to a degree, juniors, right? They're not at that eligible voting age yet. They're not at 18. But there has been a lot of conversation. There has been a lot of movement. Some smaller municipalities have actually implemented it. They're starting to try it. And I'm wondering if Philadelphia is talking about this either quietly, or if this might be a future conversation about lowering the voting age in the city to 16, because we've seen several municipalities, and there are a few countries that are doing it, but there are several municipalities in suburban DC, for example, that come to mind. I know the District of Columbia had a piece of legislation, a bill floating that idea about, but maybe that's a way to really increase youth engagement, youth voter participation, lowering the voting age one last time to 16.
No, that's so interesting that you brought it up, because I was with a group of young people a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about government and civics 101, and that conversation came up. And I had one young man raise his hand and say, a young lady raise her hand and say, we absolutely should lower the voting age to 16. And the young man say, absolutely not. We're not responsible enough yet, right? So I think the message in that is that it's not the policy recommendation. It's allowing young people to have the conversations with each other, right? For them to feel empowered to talk about these things, right? And it was so interesting to sit in that room and have these young people debate with each other whether or not they're prepared to vote or not. But I think that's the point of my office, right? To start the conversation, because you can't be apathetic. Whatever side you fall on the issue is fine, but you need to speak about it. You have to be in the room. You have to find a way to get a seat at the table. And yes, offices like mine are here to, bust the door open for you so you can get that seat right as a young person. But when you come, you have to come correct and be able to back up your stance on anything. So that's such an interesting conversation. I look forward to having that next year as we're in the high schools. What do young people think about that? And I've heard a lot of different lenses. So
excellent, excellent. Yeah, yeah. Let's definitely talk more offline about that.
yeah.
We've been talking with the director of the city's Office of Youth Engagement, Jeanette Bouvoudinsi. She's been joining us here. Go to @PhilYouth, @PHL Youth on social media so you can learn more about First Vote 2020. It's this new initiative just announced by the city, looking to encourage more active youth voter and civic participation. Go to @PhilYouth. Obviously, you can go to phila.gov as well. Search for more information on the Office of Youth Engagement. And she's been kind enough to join us here on Reality Check. Jeanette, thanks for your time.
Thank you, as always, Mr. Ellison.
All right, all right. We'll be in touch. Take care. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll be heading into our weekly strategist segment. We got Mustafa Rashid of Bellevue Strategies going to be joining us next here on Reality Check 96.1 FM, 900 AM, wordradio.com, Word app. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
A crash cleared on the Vine Expressway eastbound between the Schuylkill 95, and we're getting back to normal. And this report is paid for by Doctor-Patient Unity. The Vine Expressway westbound barely budging Broad Street to the Schuylkill eastbound delays 202 to Belmont, Montgomery Drive to University, westbound University to Girard, Montgomery to Belmont, 95 northbound barely moving Island Avenue to Broad Street, Columbus Boulevard to Bridge Street, Academy Road to Woodhaven Road, southbound Woodhaven to Academy, southbound again Compton to Girard, and again the Walt Whitman Bridge to Island Avenue, and one more time Ridley Park to the Conroe Barry Bridge. A crash in Drexel Hill State Road at Stanbridge Road. It involves a school bus. And this report is paid for by Doctor-Patient Unity. Doctors support removing patients from surprise medical billing disputes so independent healthcare experts resolve disagreements with insurance company. The insurance company's solution is to pay less for your health care. Tell Congress, stand with doctors and patients to end surprise billing. Paid for by Doctor-Patient Unity. For more traffic information, go to sigler.com. I'm Ann Evans with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Crystal Cly.
Overnight temperatures cooled down to only 33 degrees up Wednesday morning, and we'll see more clouds in the forecast for our winds. 45 degrees the afternoon high temperature, and we are looking at winds lighter than we saw on our Tuesday, but an isolated chance of a shower mostly outside of the city is possible. We're dry on your Thursday, that temperature staying in the mid-40s with a mostly sunny outlook, and even Friday is looking dry. Don't forget you can stay up to date on your neighborhood forecast by downloading the free NBC 10 app.
Brothers and sisters! Don't miss The Source. Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Word Radio, wordradio.com, and the Word Radio app.
At Dietz & Watson, we've spent over 75 years focusing on the details. This can be traced back to our founder, Gottlieb Dietz, who learned how to make franks and sausages the right way in Germany. Today, each one of our delicious offerings is meticulously crafted using perfected details. Because if it isn't good enough for our family, it isn't good enough for yours. To us, the details make all the difference.
This is Word Radio, independent black media. Reality Check with Charles Ellison right now on Word Radio and wordradio.com.
All right, Word family, don't forget, celebrate with us with WURD at our 3rd annual Empowerment Experience and Holiday Party. That's happening next Friday, December 13th at the Cambria Hotel, the illustrious Cambria Hotel in Center City on Broad Street. Doors open at 5 p.m. We'll kick off the Empowerment Experience. I'll be featuring a live conversation and book signing with Tina Lifford. She's star of the OWN Network's hit TV series Queen Sugar. Tina plays the feisty Aunt V, and she'll discuss her new inspirational book, The Little Book of Big Lies, A Journey to Inner Fitness. Then at 7 p.m., we'll turn up the volume with the WRD Holiday Dance Party, hosted by Dr. Aaron Smith, the rapping professor. And you also know him as the rapping professor. We'll also have a game room featuring Pinochle and your favorite board game. So we've got a lot to celebrate about, and we're going to be reflecting on the past year, 2019, and looking forward to 2020. Come and eat, drink, be merry with us. Also, remember, membership has its privileges. So tickets for 4Word members are only $25. For non-members, it's $40. So you might want to start or renew your 4Word membership today so you can take advantage of that nice discount of $25 for the Empowerment Experience and Holiday Party. If you haven't joined or renewed yet, now's the time to do it. Don't delay. Just want to go to wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. Get your tickets today by also visiting WRDradio.com or calling, once again, 215-425-7875. And special thanks to our sponsors, Comcast, NBC 10 Universal, Keystone First, and Keystone First VIP Choice. Also sponsored by Wells Fargo, Independence Blue Cross, and PICO as well. I would say Aunt Vi. I know I should know better because I'm a big fan of Queen Sugar, but I haven't seen it in a minute, so I got to catch up on quite a bit of it. But Aunt Vi, yes, the Aunt Vi in the flesh will be there at the Empowerment Experience and Holiday Party that's coming up. So you get to meet one of Queen Sugar's biggest stars, Aunt Vi. She's going to be there. She's actually one of the better characters in that hit TV series. But it's just really good quality scripting and plot work there on Queen Sugar. So if you don't watch it, but you should catch up before next week when we see you at the Empowerment Experience and Holiday Party. And we go to WRDradio.com for more information when you get there. We're heading into our weekly strategist segment. Joining us now is Mustafa Rashid, founder, CEO of Bellevue Strategies, a Philly-based strategy firm. Go to BellevueStrategies.com for more information. At Mustafa Rashid as well on social media, on Twitter.com, more specifically. And he joins us as he frequently does here on Reality Check. Mustafa, how are you doing? Can you hear us, Mustafa?
Sorry, I was talking into mute. Hey, Charles, I'm here. I'm doing great, and thanks for having me. And the timing, I know we always talk about what we're going to get into today, and then real life happens and sort of turns everything on its head.
Exactly.
But one of these days, you and I are going to get back to climate change and a disproportionate negative effect it has on communities of color. But we're going to get back to it.
That's right. That's a constant conversation, right? Kamala Harris. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I'm sure you probably weren't either.
Well, over the weekend, I saw 3 or 4 national hit pieces. I think Politico ran one, the New York Times ran one, and the Washington Post ran one. And I just thought, wow, if this isn't some sort of coordinated attack on a person's campaign, it felt coordinated, and I was alarmed by it when I saw it. And I thought, who's pushing this? What's the goal? What's trying to be accomplished here? And then when I saw some of the narratives that said Senator Kamala Harris didn't feel like she could fund her campaign, and she didn't feel like she had a path, that it was threatening her existing career as a senator from the good state of California. And once I read that, I thought, well, she's got more at stake here, right? Mm-hmm. If she cannot win the state of California and hasn't been able to figure out a way to break through the 24 or so odd candidates and can't raise money moving forward, then what is the path? And I thought it was troubling, and it's a good reminder of the influence that the media does play in shaping the narrative of campaigns. Mm-hmm. And it's often what they write, whether it can become true just by repetition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny too, right? I mean, media shaping the trajectory of a race before the race even gets started. We haven't even started the primaries yet. I mean, we've just been doing debates and talking points and fundraisers and social media, and that's about it.
That's correct. And you're right. It hasn't even really started yet. There's a long time to go. There are far more objectively less qualified people in this race than Senator Harris, and those folks are pressing on. There's been no long narrative about them and why they should be in help. Beto O'Rourke stepped down from the race, and that was like a mouse in the night, like a mouse coughed in the night. We never heard anything. It was just all right, he was here and now he's gone.
Right.
And I mean, I thought that was interesting that happened, and no one really seemed to care. But that Senator Harris received this long obituary, to me, I thought was alarming.
Yeah, it was rather suspect. And what led to this? There's a confluence of factors, and I think a lot of them are external, and a lot of them are internal. I mean, they're self-made. And I mean, let's just be real here. People want to kind of be a little bit light on Kamala Harris now because it's a black candidate falling out. But there's a lot of folks who were very hard on Kamala Harris during the course of her campaign. But you know, at the end of the day, she's a U.S. senator. She's running for president. She's a big sister, so you know she can handle it. You know, that's what she signed up for. But give us, you know, kind of your unpacked critique on exactly what led up to this moment.
It felt like there was some